we can ward off sarcopenia. But if you're not strength training, if you're not challenging your muscles, sarcopenia is happening faster. And I'm going to just throw this out there. I think that probably every single one of us in this room, females, myself included, are postmenopausal. So it speeds up when we lose our estrogen, just so you know, ladies. We get it even worse. So you've got to keep muscle strengthening at the top of your mind. All right. What do? Movement is key. It is essential. Let's start stressing the muscles. When you stress the muscles with strength training, it also stresses your tendons. Tendons are connected to bones. So when you pull on the muscle, you pull on the tendon, that pulls on the bone. So for people like, tell me your name. Cherie, and probably I'm going to guess about 75% of the rest of us in here, if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, that's one of the ways that you can combat that. You can actually improve that by doing strength training. We've seen it in my studio over and over and over again. Women come to us because they have osteopenia or osteoporosis, and they either reverse it if they're osteopenia, or with osteoporosis, their numbers get better. I have multiple people that's happened with. So in order for you to do this, remember I said there has to be a challenge. Most of you, your body weight is going to be enough to start, but at some point you have to add resistance. That's going to come in the form of bands, dumbbells, weighted bars, kettlebells, weighted balls, which are called medicine balls, something along the line that you're going to have to add the weight. A really cute puppy.
So,
Yes.
So I'm a Gold's Gym member now.
Yes.
Praise God, because I never knew I could afford their membership price, but it all worked out. So swimming. So because I'm a retired massage therapist, 25 years of doing deep tissue.
Yes.
My shoulder's not happy. It aches every single day.
Right.
I know if I eat more alkaline foods, it won't ache as much, but who doesn't want to have a Valentine cookie, you know, like a little bit of sweets right now. So I won't get those tendons going enough in the pool.
No, but it does help. But so her question for the people online who maybe could not hear Cherie's question, she swims and she's asking, is that enough? That is great. And swimming is a great thing for people who have arthritis and it's painful to move. But I'm just going to tell y'all something. If you sit and you don't move at all, the arthritis is going to hurt. It's going to hurt either way. So if you strengthen your body, for a lot of people, they can find some comfort with that. May not completely go away 100%. Water is great. It's a great place to start for some of our beginners, but you have to remember that you're buoyant in the water. So in order to strengthen your bones, you have to have impact on the land. So beautiful swim, but also put in conjunction with that some strength training, right? And the shoulder, it depends. I can't diagnose you with things, but depending on what's going on with the shoulder, if it's arthritis, there's only so much you can do for that, right?
But yoga will help too, even if you're not carrying a kettlebell.
Kind of movement, but the thing is, it needs to be appropriate for your body. The thing about going to classes, and there's nothing wrong with classes, okay? We teach classes at my studio, but are you with an instructor who is able to help you? Because a lot of times, like in a class, people are just thrown in there with like 25 people and you're just doing all this stuff. And the instructor does not have the ability to put attention on all 20 to 25 people. So that's something to keep in mind. When you're in a class, you need to really regulate yourself and make sure that you're being safe and moving within your range of motion and not trying to compete with others. Not that you do, but sometimes people do. Yeah. So as we get stronger and those moves get easier, we've got to add the challenge. Keep that in mind. But today we are going to practice a little bit with our body weight. Now I know you're going to church, so I won't make you sweaty, but I would like for you to attempt some of these moves. Number one, so you can remember what I'm telling you, we are going to use our chairs. And number two, so I can give you some things to remember about your form. because form is really, really important to lower your risk of injury. I'm going to go through 7 basic moves with you today. These are movements that you should be doing in every single day, because these are called foundation basic movement patterns. So sometimes, as an example, people will tell me, oh, I don't squat. Squatting hurts my knees. Who thinks that right now? Anybody? Okay. Do you know what? Squatting is a functional movement. Once you can no longer squat, you cannot sit on the toilet, and going to the toilet is a basic activity of daily living. So once we start to not be able to do those things, what happens? Now we have to go see Amber Mathis, right? She'll probably talk to you about that. So everybody just take a little stand. Now listen, I don't know all of you. I don't know your bodies. I don't know your surgeries. I don't know your injuries. The only person I know that in depth is Miss Judy, because she's one of my clients. So Miss Judy, you probably may not need to squat at the moment. So actually, I want y'all, if it's appropriate for your body, if it's not, just stand there, because I'll hopefully get something that's appropriate. Take your feet about shoulder width apart. So don't let these little tootsies be close together. Give yourself a wide base of support. The chair should be right behind you. In fact, if you want to keep your legs on it so you can feel it and feel safe, that's what I want you to do. I'm going to turn sideways. So this is what a lot of people do. They push their knees forward, and ladies, we tend to, due to our muscles, do this. That's not what I want to see. Keep those knees in line with your ankles, and then sit back towards your chair, pause, and then squeeze your tushy to bring it up. I can say tushy at church, right? Yeah. Tap, and then squeeze the tushy. All right? Yes. So some of you want to go into that chair. If you're doing that at home, if y'all are just dropping, stop that. From now on, when you go to a chair, I want you to control it down. Make those muscles work, and then squeeze your tushy. Now, if you can't get all the way down to the chair yet, that can be your goal. You can work on that to make it better. So a squat is a functional move, a basic move. Now we're going to do a lunge. No, Miss Judy. So lunges for a lot of people are very testy for the knee. But I want to show you guys something. If not when, because we're going to eliminate falling, but if you were to fall onto the ground, one of the ways that I teach my clients to get up is to get that leg in the front, lean, put all the weight on that glute, push through this heel. That is a lunge. So if you've lost that movement, getting off the floor is going to be even harder. Use your chair and split your legs on the corner. So you can always be safe by using your chair, all right? All I want you to do is think about dropping your back knee. You'll feel your leg on the corner of your chair, and then you just stand back up. And again, if we can't touch the chair, then that's our goal, to slowly work on trying to get there. Really spread the legs. Spread the legs. If you hear cracking, but there's no pain, you're all right. Okay. See, so we can always hold, you can always hold another chair. Always be safe when you're doing these things. Beautiful. Next thing is to push. So I won't make you go onto a wall, but very simply pretend this is a wall. You can do it on a counter. It's to practice pushing away with a straight line, elbows going out. I'll repeat those for y'all because I see some of y'all writing. Don't worry, I'll come back. The other thing is to pull. So we need to pull things. This is something that I see with a lot of people. I'm going to use Miss Judy's cane. So, because I know she doesn't care if I touch her stuff. All right. So I would take something and pull. See how my elbows are kind of going out and down? The upper back muscles, I want you to think about your shoulder blades squeezing towards your spine. That's your pull. There's a lot of other exercises, but these are some that are really important for our posture and staying upright. Beautiful. Look how great y'all are. All right, the next one is a hinge, and this is one that we tend to lose. So face your chair, step about a foot away from it. Pull your belly button to your spine. Now watch as I do it incorrectly. I don't want to see a round back like this. Do you see how my back looks? Now watch where I'm going. We're going to a flat back, pushing the booty back, okay? Your tushy's going back. So hands are coming to the chair. You're like a teapot. Push, push, push those hips back. Your belly is pulled in, touch, and then squeeze your tushy to come back up. Let me look at y'all. So your chest stays out, push your hips back, hinge at the hips, beautiful, and then come back up. Lovely. All right, next thing we need to do. Now, if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, this can be a contraindicated exercise, meaning that you have to not do this in certain situations. So be very careful with your rotation. I'm going to do one that should be safe because we are not using weights. So one thing is stand by your chair, pretend there's something in there. You're going to squat, grab it, and then you're going to rotate and raise it up here. All right, a little squat grab, a little raise and rotate. We're rotating our body. This is really great because we are moving in a different plane of motion.
That's when I'm putting up my groceries.
Yes, that's when you're putting up your groceries. And then the last one is your gait. So I want to just share a little story with you guys. There are many reasons why we lose our balance and fall down. One of the basic things that happens is as we age, our balance changes for multiple reasons. If you're not working your muscles, they get weaker and we're scared as we walk. You don't realize it, but if you slow down a walk, you're on one leg. This is why, one of the reasons why, people begin to shuffle. As you shuffle, your balance gets worse, your muscles get weaker, and you can catch yourself on things a lot easier and fall down. So I want you to learn to stand tall, pull that belly button to the spine, and working on your gait is something you can do. And this also incorporates balance work. So in a safe way, if you want to hold your chair, I like to have people slow a walk down and give me a little a step and a knee lift. Now you might need to have something as you do this, and you do want to practice forward and backward movement. You need to be able to back pedal and not fall. So you can start here, holding on, then you can start without anything. Then you can make it a little harder with a hop, which is going to strengthen the bones. Okay. Beautiful. Look at y'all. Now you get to sit down. Nobody's sweaty, right? I kept my promise.
Fear sweat.
Fear sweat. Hopefully not. So for your worksheet, here's your 7 basic movement patterns. Squat. Amber T's favorite move, squat. I hope y'all were doing that at home. Were you?
They're all worked out.
Blacked out, I can't tell.
They're like, I'm in my gown. I'm not getting up. Lunge. Okay. Thank you, Lorraine. Push. So you need to do push exercises. Remember, I showed you the wall push-up, but there's many others. That was just one to begin. Pull exercises. Hinge. Rotate. And just so y'all know, there are a plethora of exercises for these. I'm showing you one. There's so many more. And your gait. So I'd like for everybody to start safely. Now, not only do you need strength, you also need mobility. Mobility is the ability of a joint to move through its full range of motion. May I use you as an example because you showed me beforehand? So you obviously have a shoulder issue. Okay, show us your non-injured shoulder up to your ear. All the way. Yep. Okay, do you see where her shoulder is? Give them a nice little, okay? Now, other side, this is her injured shoulder. Do you see the difference in her range of motion? So her mobility in her left shoulder is not at it's at its full range of motion for where it is right now after injury.
It was there. Well, actually, it
Yes.
wasn't even there right after I did it.
So it's much better, right? Way better, which is great. But she's not at her, what used to be full range of motion. Now, depending on what's happened, she may not ever get that back. But the point is you're better than you were. So if you had left it here, now what? She can't function with that left arm like normal. Now she has an abnormal side, and that's going to throw everything else off in your body. So think about all the injuries you've had that maybe you didn't do your physical therapy like you were supposed to. You didn't listen to Amber Mathis, and now what happens? But your entire body needs mobility exercises. These are things you can do every single day. Now, there's tons, but I'm going to focus on 4 places that I find with my clients, which are you guys, are typically the ones we need to work on the most. It's ankle, thoracic spine, neck, and hips. So I'm going to give you a couple of exercises for that. For the ankle, seated in your chair, you can just remember, always sit up tall when you do this. Don't be a little slouchy Sally. Sit up tall, pull the core in, extend that leg, and you want to take your foot around in a circle as far as you can. I need to stand up here, right? Don't worry, if I fall down. It's okay. This is why I exercise, so I can do this silly stuff in front of people, right? All right, there you go.
I love
Okay.
doing this.
There you go. Every day, every day. The other thing is we really need to keep that ankle mobility because that is how we walk. So stand up really quickly, put one foot in front of the other, and now this for knees, I will tell y'all, this can be a little questionable for knees. Some people this hurts. If it hurts, don't do it. So stop before the hurt happens. Keep your heel down and just try to gently bring the knee forward and then back. Now, I don't want you to squat like this, but this is a mobility exercise to help you get a little bit more angle in or dorsiflexion in your ankle. Very slow, not with weights. This is mobility. Gorgeous. All right, thoracic spine. Why is this important? Let's have a little seat. Because when you are driving, first off, you need to be able to look with your neck, but that upper back needs to be able to rotate too. You're not going to get a huge range of motion here. So this is something for my people with osteoporosis and osteopenia. You have to be very careful with these exercises. I would have you come here and then just rotate to where you can. You're not doing a full-on like that. You're not trying to wrench it. This is more about your mobility in your daily life. All right. And just staying safe with the osteoporosis. Those of you who don't have that, arms come down inside your legs. Push your right forearm against your right inside leg and rotate.
You did this in yoga.
You did it in yoga, yes. Yes, when you do, oh gosh, what pose is it? It's a triangle pose. You do this. So thoracic spine.
That's thoracic spine.
Yes, that's your thoracic spine. Now with your neck, a couple of different things. Turn as far as you can to the right without doing anything funky with your body and hold for a second. Then turn as far as you can to your left and hold for a second. Now turn as far as you can to your right, hold, drop your chin down, lift it up. Drop your chin down, Lift it up. Now let's go to the other side. Drop your chin down, lift it up, drop your chin down, lift it up. Beautiful, and come back. Sitting is killing us. So guess what else it's doing is tightening up our hips. Tight hips sometimes mean back pain, neck pain, because everything is connected. So let's take it up. Let's use our chairs. Now, if the chair is too tall for you to do this at home, you could just get you could get on your step, you could do something. So I want you to stand tall and just rock through, hold your chair and just rock through here. Judy, be careful.
Let's zoom in.
As long as it doesn't hurt. Hey, you're gonna get a new knee anyway, so if you mess it up more, I mean. Yeah, good. Now, just because I want y'all to be even, let's do that other side.
Yeah.
Do you notice? Does it feel a little bit better now that you've done that? So make sure that your knee is facing away from your chest. Your chest is facing front, your knee is facing side. And we only move where it feels good in our body. When you feel pain, you don't move into that bad pain. You guys are going to be limber and strong. You're going to go to church and everybody's going to say, what happened to you? A new person. All right. Okay, guys, have a seat. Look at there. So in conclusion, if you can take just 15 minutes a day to do some of these exercises that I've taught you, if you will start to focus on that, you can make such a difference in the way that you live your life. God gave you a body to care for and to be strong. What are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be out there bringing other people to Him. You can't do it if you've got a weak body and you're laid around. So I hope that this gave you some ideas. Just to remind you, my name is Amber Toole, and at the bottom is my website, thetrainingtool.com. I have a studio where we do personal training. So we do things like this one-on-one. We have classes. We have reformer Pilates classes. We do nutrition coaching. So a lot of things that we do to help people with their health. And if you don't believe how great we are, you can ask Miss Judy. Like she said, she's been with me since 2005. So I think that
You get a 20-year pin.
yeah,
So I can have your address of your place. Where is it?
I'll tell you the address. It's 3887 Southeast Lake Weir Avenue. I'm right beside La Bella's restaurant.
I was gonna say La Bella. Yeah, we go there more than you.
And I'll leave some cards here if you're interested. You can call me. In fact, if you call me this week and have a little chat with me, I might have a little something for you. So call me this week and you can get a little free consultation. How's that? For being here and listening to me all this time.
You might get a shirt one day.
You might get a shirt one day. We like prizes, don't we, Miss Judy? But I do. I am thankful to Kathy that she asked me to speak to you guys. I'm very happy that you were willing to listen and spend your time with me because I know you have a lot of other great things to do. So thank you very much. Thank you online. Amber.
Hello, everyone. So the whole time I'm watching, because on the back of this sheet we've handed to you is about falls. So what do you think I am seeing up here that's driving me crazy right now? And it has to be here.
Balance.
That wire.
Safety.
So once again, that's just thinking of safety. Same thing what she's teaching you. We all have our own limits of what we can and cannot do. The first thing you want to find is something stable. to practice these. So I was watching everyone and everyone's doing great, you know, because just like somebody said, I didn't know I could get my leg up there. Very exciting, right? But once you get up there, you gotta make sure you're safe, bringing it back down again. So, so the biggest thing is falls. And unfortunately, what I've heard today is that one of your people fell. And so once you fall, it's not a good thing. And the statistics are not good as far as what possibly can happen. 25% of people that fall may not even ever get back to where they were before. So you've heard oh, I broke my hip. A friend of mine's mother broke her hip, and her biggest fear is I'm going to die. They say, I'm going to die. No, you're not going to die. But there are things that can happen with a fall, especially a hip fracture. If you have a surgery, now they got to do surgery with risk of infection, risk of DVTs. You fall, you hit your head. So unfortunately, I'm putting the fear God in you, because falling, we can't fall. The older we get, the less we're able to recover from that. So you can recover. I do it every day with people. But the big thing is she's saying, now's the time to catch that, not after you see me. So you want, it's really important. I guess what I'm trying to stress is no one ever thinks they're going to fall. You know, my favorite thing says, well, I've never fallen. I do that all the time. I don't fall until you do. And it happens that quickly. So we have to be able to reaction time as well. So if I'm doing something like she's talking about with mobility of ankles, so important to be able to, if I'm taking a step, I've got to be able to clear that. If I'm shuffling, I catch my toe. And so once you do those things, if there's not something there to grab, guess where we end up? So once again, common fractures, wrists, shoulders, backs, compression fractures. So the big thing, and where you don't want to fall, is that way. So I brought a lot of assistive devices that kind of assist. They're devices to help assist us if we have, you know, needing to recover from. Some people need an assistive device. It took my mother a pelvic fracture for her to finally listen to her daughter that she helped get through school. My own mother wouldn't listen to me. She fell, broke a pelvis, and it took that fall to make her realize I can't use a cane anymore. I have to use a rollator. So sometimes it's just checking that ego. There are things that happen to us, strokes or brain injuries, debility, things that happen that we do the best we can to get back as far as we can. It may not ever be to that point, but the biggest thing is just being able to participate in life, checking that ego at the door and get out and enjoy it. If it takes a rollator, if it takes a cane, takes a walker, who cares? And a lot of times walkers, I always fight people with using that walker in the beginning because they're afraid they hear that I'm going to be stuck on it for the rest of my life. You're not necessarily. So I did bring a couple fun things. So this is fun, especially as we get older. These things called crutches. So a lot of people cannot use them after a certain point because it takes a certain amount of balance, especially if you have to be non-weight bearing. So if I have to have my foot up in the air, I have to have what, Amber? Upper body strength, yes. Right? I have to have enough upper body strength to be able to support me to hop over things, to do all this stuff, because, and I love when doctors tell me non-weight bearing and they want the person to be on crutches. Some people just can't do it. And so you end up with what I call because you can't do it. So in that, of course, I'm not going to force you on this. I'm going to put you on a walker or a more stable thing. I'm pretty good on these because I've gone through lots of surgeries, ligament surgeries, which is why I ended up being what I am, a physical therapist. And I've had both of my knees replaced. So, so I was 60 when I had both my knees replaced. So, and so I'm living proof. So you can get up and do all these fun things after a knee replacement. This here is a poor little walker. He's had a better life. Yeah. He was found at the thrift store. So a lot of times these things are not cheap. So if you're not coming through what I call the system, getting insurance and things to cover it, this is sometimes what you end up with. So this poor little guy, he's been all put back together again, and he doesn't even have his little things. And I have people that are actually using this when I get to the house. So it's not safe, right? So just be careful if you go out and buy something used, make sure it's stable, make sure it's good, that it's going to support your body weight, because if it doesn't, the other thing I've done is I put the wheels on the inside. Okay, because people do that. I can't get into my bathroom. So we put the wheels on the inside. Problem with that, and anytime there's a change, we used to do this a lot too to get people in. But now, someone somewhere, I'm sure there was a liability litigation. We're not telling people that anymore, because if I push
it can tip. The other thing that happens is it bears the weight and it pulls that inward. So once again, you're not realizing, or your person you're helping or taking care of, or a friend, you look down and that is angled, so it's gonna trip it. If you have to move it, it's a very simple thing. You push this, you pull that out, you flip it to the other side, okay? I had a lovely retired engineer, and he wanted to go into a room I didn't want him in. This was years and years ago. And then you can see that too. You gotta make sure they're level. So they call that cattywampus, right? See, and I've seen people do that. But he wanted to do it, and I don't know how he did it, but he come back in and he has the wheels off. And I said, well, you went ahead and did move those wheels, didn't you? He says, yeah, it took me a couple hours. So I'm thinking, a couple hours, he's a smart guy, right? So he ended up literally taking it off in the bearings. He said, it took me a while with the bearings. The bearings were tough. I said, that is amazing. I am so proud of you. And I said, out of all these people, I've never, he says, oh, people don't do the wheels. I said, no, but if you ever want to do them back and take them back. So I went up and did this, the look on his face. His wife had to leave the room because she lost it. She couldn't even look at him. She had to get up and walk out. I said, but it kept him out of trouble for a couple hours, didn't it? So now I like to show people that, just so you don't spend hours trying. The other thing is some people don't realize you can fold it. Most walkers are going to have a place that you push down and it lets you fold it to put it back into where it needs to be. Okay.
Why do some people have it angled? Like the bars angled instead of
Level. I always tell people there's a right, I've learned of doing this for all these years, 37 plus years. There's the right way, the wrong way, and the way that works. So once again, I'm not going to second guess another therapist. I figure, I'm in the home care setting. If the therapist in the hospital said it a certain way, they may have been seeing something I wasn't seeing. The thing about rolling walkers is they don't line up exact, because the wheel is taking up more room. So they don't line up exactly. So if you put all these things the exact place, just like this walker, he's tipping backwards. So sometimes, or a lot of times what happens is the walker doesn't go higher or it doesn't go lower. So as I raise this up, I'm a big fan of falling forward. If I have to choose, if I'm going to fall, I'd rather fall forward than backward. Not that any of us want to fall. So this thing is, like I say, it bends through lots of problems. So anyway, now I'm level. And once again, now I have wheels too. Some walkers, if they don't have wheels, it's a standard walker. It really makes you a little safer. A lot of people are sent at home with wheels. Anything that's a wheel is only as stable as I'm stable. And the same thing with this walker. This walker is only as stable as I'm stable. So if I start to go, guess what? It's coming with me. It's not bolted. So always be cautious with that. I love too, sometimes somebody will go back to the doctor and so they're here. Right, we're here. And it's not our fault. We're here. We didn't do our exercises, Amber. We didn't do our extensions, our thoracic extensions. We're stuck here. My favorite thing the doctors do is they raise that walker. They say, we need to get this walker up higher for you. All right, so they raise it up for us. So then that patient comes back to me. And now they're here. So they raise it up. Amber, I don't know, my shoulder's hurting since the doctor sent me back with this walker. So once again, I want to stand up tall. But if I have all of these tightness here, tightness in the back, what it's going to do, it's like a rope pulling a tent. If I have one side tight and the other side's loose, what's going to happen? So if I don't have the mobility here in my ankles, in my feet, I'm going to tip this way if I'm upright. So when I see people try to adjust a walker to get someone up higher, if I haven't been in this position, what's going to happen? I'm going to fall that way. And the second I initiate movement this way, it's amazing what happens for balance. Our body is kicking in. The brain is saying one thing and the body's saying, huh? Because it hasn't had to do this in a while. So what happens is we fall and we fall backwards. So backwards is the heart because you land and most of the time you hit your head. If you watch football, they land, they're hitting that hit. Okay. We don't want to hit heads. Okay. So that's this little guy. Now we're getting to the cane. So I'm thinking of things where people chat about. Just for the record, this is not a cane. It is an umbrella. It can be used as a cane, but the problem with this, it doesn't have a good tip. So if you hit something, it's going to slip on you. Okay, so once again, today was a rainy day. great day for my business, but I don't like to see people. I want you to be honest. This here is a quad cane. So you can see we call it a quad cane. It has 4. And there's wide base ones and there's narrow base ones. Kind of like the big wide base frog. What was that guy that frog? The big wide base?
Oh, yeah,
I digress.
Mark Twain.
So there are different ways. Some of these you can turn around to have right or left. This would be more for my left side because I do not want to trip on it. So if I use it on this side, now I'm going to trip on it. The problem with a quad cane for me and what I think is that if I don't need it for the stability, it becomes a trip hazard. Because a lot of people to walk and they get it right there. So I'm tripping on this thing. Okay, so if I have somebody that they tend, when I use this, it's more for someone who really needs that extra stability. And it's pretty much a 1 step at a time kind of thing. Okay, I tell everybody I want all 4 legs down, no tipping, just like Publix. So no tipping. Might get a discount. So that would be someone maybe who's had a stroke, or we use something called a hemming walker. It's like a half walker, just more stability, a wider base. Just like us, the wider base, the more stable. As Amber was telling with balance, another fun thing to do is, this is the posture you see a lot of times too, when we start to lose our balance or if we feel we're gonna fall. If you're roller skating, which I don't do, but if you're roller skating, the first thing they teach you is to go to here, not up, because if you go up, you're gonna fall backwards and to come down. And that's the posture we end up developing over time with fear of falling. You start getting lower and lower to the ground and a quicker little steps, because I don't know, this leg is telling this leg, and subconscious mind is an amazing thing because it tells us things that we don't even realize it's telling us. So my subconscious brain, as I've gotten weaker, as I've gotten less ability to control my body and tighter, what happens is the subconscious brain says, whoa, there you go. We start doing this walk. And then what does that do? That creates a whole nother bunch of problems. And then my fear is, once again, somebody bumps me in Publix and I don't have these couple steps to go backwards. There's your backwards walk. Okay. I had a client or a patient I had, and she had come back from a hip fracture, and we talked about the importance of, I like to use, and I always tell people, don't try things without a spotter, but you got to make sure your spotter is in better condition than you. As if they're not, then you're, hey, honey, you caught me, but we're on the ground now. We can. That happened with my mother. She ended up with a rollator. She was using a rollator going out to the mailbox. She fell. So she's down by a tire. My mother didn't have a great sense of humor, but for some reason she did this thing. A gentleman drives by. He sees her on the ground. He comes to help her. Okay. Now he says, I'll help you up. Next thing you know, he's on the ground. We're on the ground. We cannot get up. Okay. So she ends up, he had a cell phone. They ended up calling a rescue and got them both up. But what she said to him when he said, do you need any help? Did you fall? She says, no, I'm down here blowing up the tire. But I think she kind of was being smart. All right, now I have 2 more fun the 3 little guys here. Come here. This was my mother's cane. I've kept it these years in case I ever need it. And I may someday. I used it after my knee surgery. So there's different angles. So I get a lot of questions about the angles. This is a candy cane and this guy's different. I like this one, and I'll tell you why. Because here my center of gravity, if you think about my arm, and I always tell people a cane is an extension of your arm. Because you don't want to do this unless you're Fred Astaire. Because what that does is it gives you tendonitis to your wrist. So there's a little tendon here, and every time you're doing this, next thing you know, you're having a thumb issue. So that's the candy cane, right? There's nothing wrong with it. This kind of style, keep trying to grab your cane. What it's done here, and the reason they designed it this way, now this center of gravity goes right up through. So my arm is a continuation all the way down. So sometimes it's just feels a little more stable, a little less of this. But once again, this is only as stable as I am.
Is
Okay?
it better not to lock out your arm when you're using it?
Well, we like a slight bend. I haven't adjusted these. Once again, right way, wrong way. And I always say, go with whoever is giving you that advice. There's something they may see in you. There's always the proper thing in a textbook, All right, but we try to go with a little greater from, and then we put her, so this one I would probably have a little higher, but once again, I'm gonna look at you. A lot of times what you see, and there's a little, always make sure this too, there's a little, usually something here to tighten it. And half the time, if you can't hear and you're hearing that, it's usually because that's weak. So you look at your friend or your person that's coming down and just make sure that's tight. If it's not, if you hit this little button, so that now it shifts on you, you can fall. Okay, so always make sure that. I usually adjust it. I try to look at the hip. I look at there. We want a slight bend in the elbow. Slight bend. Now, once we're only as strong as we're strong, those pushes, right? So for me to hold myself, I have to have a certain amount of strength in the back of my arm. If my arm is really, really bent, and this is what you see too a lot. You see them out there. Guess what? We are them. So. So here's the thing for me as a therapist doing this all these years. What we tend to want to do right away is put that in a proper position. I've walked this way for 10 years. So if I suddenly change that cane, what's going to happen to that individual? Probably going to fall. So it's just being smart, and always talk to the professional or whoever you're working with, because there's the right way, the wrong way, and the way that works and how we've assessed you. So that's what I wanted to talk about this. And then here's my next favorite cane. I'm going to be here for you. I don't have to treat anybody. All right. Negative to this cane is just that it has a mind of its own. So it obviously did not want to be closed up. It wants to be part of this. So I closed it up. What you have to be careful with these kind of canes is that they go where they're supposed to. So if part of this is not hooked right, you get up and take that first step, it can collapse on you. Okay. There's another cane out there too, that I didn't have one, but it has a base to it. And what happens is, and it was advertised on TV, that stays down and then this wobbles. I'm not a big fan because that's another stability point that I kind of want you not to have to worry about. So what's nice about that and the design of it, because this cane does quite fine. It moves where it's supposed to be. But that wobble cane, I start hearing it already moved on me before I was ready for it to go. So once again, just whoever's going to work with you will guide you to the best assistive device. Rollator, whose rollator is that?
It's the churches.
May I show you
brought
guys?
it in because you mentioned it was that we were
A
coming in.
lot of people like these guys. These are the Cadillac. That's why Medicare doesn't want to pay. Do not use it like this. I'm just in a hurry.
What's that cord?
All right, so the thing about this, once again, we have now 4 wheels, okay, 4 wheels, and the ones in the front turn. I'm not gonna put you on this, even though it's great and it has a seat, because everybody wants that seat, and oh, if there was a basket, would we not be happy? But that was my mom too. She'd find things. I'm like, where did you don't leave the house. Where are you finding these things for your basket? But anyway, it can get away from you. So once again, if it goes, these are brakes, just like a bicycle back in the olden days. But even if you squeeze the brake, it can still slide. Okay, so I will give this if someone has pretty good balance, but we just need that little bit of stability. Okay, and you don't want to let it go further than you can control it. So if you're going down a hill, you squeeze little smaller steps downhill so we don't keep tumbling. Okay. Nice thing about this, it's my seat. I'm so tired of waiting in this line. So you're gonna push down, you lock it. Feel it, and you do an amber squat. An amber squat. Yes, ma'am, in the back.
The tennis balls. The tennis balls you put on my walker after mine, I forgot why we did that.
We did that, okay, so once again, we're back to the walker. Thank you.
And this is
Great
for
question.
Judy's benefit,
Great
tennis
question.
balls, maybe.
Okay, so tennis balls are a blessing and a curse. So once again, I'm going to decide, are you stable enough that if I put those tennis balls, because those tennis balls on tile, boom, now we've got even more ability to slide. What's nice is I don't have to pick them up. So if I have rolling walker, sometimes I will, if that person just coming out of surgery, I don't like their support, and they don't have the gliders, you'll see sometimes they look like little skis or there's little caps. They tend to wear out pretty quickly, and tennis balls are cheaper than paying for that. You'll see the little tennis balls. What that allows us to do is have a normal heel-toe walk. Okay, so it allows me to keep moving. If my stability isn't there though, I may want you only doing one step at a time. If we've limited you with how much weight the doctor wants you to have on the leg, and I give you wheels, it's nicer because maybe my shoulders don't let me roll. It's a lot easier. But if my doctor tells me they don't want any weight, the other thing I love is what's called toe touch. Weight bearing and toe touch, what it means is not, I'm allowed to have my toe down. I had a patient one time, I knock on the door, here she came.
No.
Oh, yes, toe touch. They told me toe touch. What that is about how much weight to put on. So bottom line, we tend to do more the flat foot or the heel, because once you start this toe touchdown thing, you get tight. So then it makes it hard. So it's really, toe touch means I'm just allowed to feel my leg kind of touch the ground, but we don't want much more weight shifted through it. And that's where you have to have the arm strength once again to maintain that. I've told people, pretend there's a frog under there, you don't want to squish them. I found people don't care about frogs. If I put their puppy's paw under there, they suddenly care. So it's finding that right motivation, whatever helps you. So there were lots of squish frogs where I used to go. But it's just a matter of using these assistive devices as a tool for the reason that the doctor wants you to have them. And it's always following your doctor's advice, your therapist's advice, that kind of thing. Any questions? So the rollators are awesome. But once again, anything that you're not stable enough to use, you now put yourself at a fall risk if you use it improperly, or you're trying to go faster than. Pardon me? Right, and a lot of them don't. And what I tend to do is I look at it if it's close, depending if I'm using this as a support, and we usually do it the opposite side of the boo-boo is the right way. It allows me to take some weight off that leg. Okay, the more weight I have to take off, the more weight I have to put here. Once again, that's the stability. If I have somebody who's using the cane more for balance, because once again, subconscious brain says, I need something to feel that I feel secure. Boom, there's my cane. So it's, you're using it more for balance, or if that knee decides, hey, I don't want to work. So it's just, and I'm not as stickler as I was. If someone has full weight, they're allowed to bear weight is tolerated. It's more about balance. If I'm a very dominant right-handed person and they really want you to use it in the left side because the right side is the boo-boo side, and there's no weight bearing thing, I may keep you on here. If your left arm just says, I don't know what we're doing, because then it's not pretty. It's because we're not coordinated. We're not coordinated that. And what you see a lot of is what I call the gun smoke. So once again, that's not the way. We do not walk that way. We walk opposite arm and leg. Okay. Who was that guy, Chester or?
That's just.
That's Mr. Dillon, they're coming, so. And you see it all over TV. That's how they're using it. I always felt bad for Frazier. He had a live-in lady from Australia, physical therapist, I believe, had a physio from Australia. He still used a cane, so. I don't know.
Amber, what,
Thank you.
the last thing about safety in your house, should they get rid of all their rugs and things?
Well, throw rugs, if you want to make sure you tack it down or you've got the grippy behind. This in a throw rug, the problem with that is as you roll, this back part grabs it, flips it up. So, and then now you've tripped over the throw rug. But the joke in therapy is a throw rug is because it throws you. But we love our throw rugs. It's hard to get rid of throw rugs. And everyone tells me, I know it's there. I know it's there, Amber. Because you get busy and you don't know it's there, but no one ever thinks they're gonna fall. So it's always looking, the things we put on the back there, making sure you fix your house. Same thing with grab bars in a shower. Once again, they're only as good as the placement and your ability to use them. Most of the time, if I'm going to fall and I'm in a shower, I'm not gonna find that grab bar unless I'm holding that grab bar. So our balance comes from eyes, comes from what we call proprioception in our feet, inner ear. If I take one of those things away, now I've taken my eyes out of balance, much more like to fall. Doing my hair, I'm gonna hold on, or you sit in a chair. So there's a lot of people, YouTube is now the Dr. Google. You can find all kinds of advice, all kinds of exercises, a million exercises for everything you're doing. But it's just important to find what works for you and not creating more problems with the challenges that you already have in your shoulders or your spine or your back. You have to know your limits. Yes, I know we're going over.
So walking, it's confusing. ARP had a big thing on falls and walking. They said, keep your straight up and look ahead. But yet we know one of the trip hazards are these crevices in the sidewalks and all that.
So-
So it's
Right way, the wrong way. I love it, like in the hospital, you know, I get people, they come out, they say well, I get to them in the home care setting. I'm like, they said, well, they told me to look up. So there's looking up. And then there's looking where you are going. So of course, the more hazards that are there, but what we don't want. At that point, you don't know where you're headed. You're watching your feet, which might be because you don't know where your feet are. You've got diabetes, you've got neuropathy. So once again, right way, the wrong way. But we always want this kind of posture. But if that posture doesn't serve you, you have to work into that posture. We do exercise. We think sometimes, unfortunately, by the time we get there, things have blocked. And we can only get so far back up, but it's just keeping and maintaining as much fitness as you can. The other big thing is, how do I get off of the floor? I love when I get orders that says teach this patient how to get off the floor. They haven't been on the floor in 20 years. So the odds of me really teaching them, they don't have the strength, they don't have the motion, they've had multiple surgeries to have that strength and ability to get up. At that point, you find something comfortable, honey, call them again. Boom. And in some areas in town, that they, you know, you're a guy. I had one lady, she kept calling because they were cute, but I don't think you should do that. But it's just learning and having that mobility. For me, in home care, sometimes I had to get down after I had my knees done. I did one in October, one in December, about 4 years ago. I had to know if I have to get on the ground, I have to be able to get up. And that was for me to go back to work. Once again, if you practice getting down by segments, another thing is to get up. This is a great way, but it's hard. Like, I've had 2 knee surgeries, so it's hard to go from here and bring myself up. But it's amazing if you can. So if I end up on the ground, help, I'm falling, I can't get up. Okay, we all know that commercial. There's multiple ways to try to get up, but a lot of times you can't. The first thing you do is just says, am I broken? Okay, am I okay? Okay, I'm okay. And then it's just looking at your environment, seeing what do I have. Sometimes building up cushions can do that, but you have to be able to push. So I'm not graceful, and I can't believe I'm doing this on a camera, but the way I've always had to get up, because I can't kneel. I have some other things, shoulder issues, is I get on my side. Here's here, I bring this to here, and then I try to get that leg and come around to here. So once I'm here, but once again, just to do that move, it takes all these things to do that move. And then once I'm here, I can just come up. Woo! Give me some coffee, babe. So it's just, you have to have the strength to be able to do these, pushing, strengthen your legs. So and you can't get this overnight, didn't lose it overnight, okay?
if you fall, and I probably did the wrong thing, and you know you broke something, should you just stay there?
Well, yeah, because if you do move, you've now made that possibly even more damage. So especially with hips, and my mother walked for about a week, 7 days, and I didn't live in the area, and every time I was coming back, she told me she'd follow me, checking things, and she said progressed, getting worse, but she didn't denial, didn't want to go, hurting, finally made her go get that X-ray, because without them checking it, you don't know. And the older we get, the odds of us falling and not breaking something is, I mean, it happens, you land just right. There are some studies with hip pads. A lot of motocross kids, they wear these pads to protect their hip. So they said, if I'm doing an activity, I don't want to risk a fall after certain ages, and they've gotten a little better with those, but you feel like you're going out to football. Let's go. You got your pads on, going to play pickleball, so you've got these pads everywhere. But if you fall, you've got some shock absorbers. So it's that impact that sometimes gets you. And sometimes we just tuck and roll and yes.
So, as just I mentioned, a friend of mine, the doctor said, you are in terrible shape. You're looking down and you've got to start looking up. Then he did some other exercises and he said, look over, I want you to walk straight and look over here. And when she did, she walked that way. She didn't even know she was.
That's that vestibular system. We follow our eyes. That's why people can do these flips and they can land on their feet. I had a gentleman, he could walk so good, we're walking out, he said, hey, Bobby, he says, hey, whoa, because we've taken our eyes off that. We love this plane of movement, forward and back. Oh, and sometimes back is not so good, but we love this. Second, we go off of this, but turning that head, with little things in our rear are adjusting for movement. So sometimes as therapists, what we work on is if I'm working on balance, I might be stable, but then I'm gonna either turn my head, keep my eyes forward. So we're working that vestibular system then, just trying to. All right, you feel kind of funny doing it, you find a point, or you fix your eyes and you track, you go through here. So all those things do affect balance. And that's how you trip too. We're good right in here. But the second you have to, here comes a car, here comes so there's mobility to that. And then there's all these other systems. And as we age, unfortunately, some of those get a little bit challenging. Right. But there's a lot of falls that fall. Once you turn your head, your body moves. And a lot of times, just like if you drive, you wonder, how can somebody hit this cop that's on the side of the road? The second I've tracked my eyes, we tend to follow that path. So, which comes in handy back in the days when we had to run from things.
What about the lift seat on the toilet?
Well, once again,
You need
lift
that.
seat on a toilet, it depends if you need it or not. Once, to get up and down, we love this 90-degree angle, and I have to have enough bend underneath me. I can't get up from here. That's why knee surgery is getting that motion is so important, because and I always like to say, if I get my toe under my knee, it gets me almost in a functional position. It's hard to get up from here. I have to come way forward to do that. The same thing from here, and she laughs because we fall into it. I have had patients and I ask them if they were airborne, if they're veterans. If they say no, I do not want falling into chairs. So, because that's the easy way to get there. But we lose sometimes the knees hurt, the hip hurt. I don't have the mobility to do that. So we raise you up, okay? If my hip is above my knee angle, it's a whole lot easier, okay? And then you get the arms to go over that as well.
And if you flop down too hard on a toilet, depending on what kind it's made out of, my mom bruised her
Oh,
tail,
absolutely.
her coccyx bone really bad.
Yeah, and once again, we don't want you falling on the toilet. But some of the, the sizes and I kind of like having arms involved. You back up, you feel, everybody's always telling you not to use your hands. As a physical therapist, safety is first for me. And yes, to do sit to stand tests, how many times can I sit to stand in a minute or whatever? That's great. And it's working on strength. If you're going to start that and you haven't done that in a while, I always love, like she said, let's go slow. I know there's something behind me. When I get to that falling point, I'm not out here in the middle of the world. Because then you're down before you know what happened. And it happens just like that. So I like, okay, feel she's touching, but you can use a chair too as leverage, and you have to watch that because you get out in the world. What I mean by that, if I'm in my big old recliner, 300-pound recliner, what people tend to do is they get their legs and then I'm pushing. I'm trying to, if I break anything, I'll pay for it. So I put this here, I'm now leveraging my legs to push back against the chair instead of using my body, instead of using my muscles. And you'll see people do that. And sometimes you'll see that chair move or you'll see that recliner go because they're trying to use these other muscles or extender muscles instead of the quad to push themselves up, okay? I can't really show that there because that moves good. And so don't trick yourself but if you have to, I say use your hands least amount as you need to. It's there as a backup to help you up and down. Lift chairs, once again, as things get harder, we get that lift chair, I call them dump trucks. So only dump yourself out as far as you have to. Don't challenge yourself a little bit, but if you always raise that dump truck to lift you up, I'm upright. Now what happens is that if I go somewhere else, I can't get out of the chair. So you use it, sometimes you use those right after you've injured something in the recovery process. But you want to try to rely on the least amount of things. So it's 10:15, I don't know.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I want to call everybody's attention to the fact that Kathleen's with us. She's with us.
I just did this as a model. If there's anybody that wants to have a buddy to check in once a week because you're doing some stuff, put your name and phone number up there and what kind of things, whether you just want a phone call and accountability or you want
do some walking together or anyway.
Thank you, ladies. I do have red folders over here for y'all for if you want to keep your papers from Crossroads.
Oh,
I know that Margaret gave us one 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I
So-
sent you this morning the
Help yourself.
so you can print out more yourself of the weekly thing. And, also some other, oh, Buddy's examined that I promised. You should look at that. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
Because it is, you might.
Bye, everybody.
I like that.